Hi, I'm Starla from lifefulandfrugal.com, and today we are going to show you how to make an authentic wild yeast sourdough starter. This is a simple process of mixing water and flour together and harnessing the power of wild yeasts that are in the air all around us, that are blown in through the wind, and that are also just already present on the flour. We're going to show you how that you can not only do a whole wheat sourdough starter, which most people start off with. We're also going to show you how you can use just white flour or all-purpose flour to do the same thing, and you will have a wonderful wild yeast sourdough starter. So I want to give you some quick tips before we get started, and the first one is that we use King Arthur flour. It's one of our favorite flours. It is grown from all-American wheat, and it's part of the non-GMO project. So we really like to use King Arthur flour. And the second tip I want to give you is that this takes about 7 days to get started, and you just want to be patient, and it will be great. Just take your time, be patient. It just depends a lot on the temperature, really how many microbes you have living in your house, wild yeast and bacteria. And it's a great time to do it in the autumn because the windows open usually, and that brings in wild yeast through the air. Another tip is if you struggle with getting your starter going, consider keeping some fresh apples or other chemical-free fruits or veggies in your kitchen to help bring those wild yeast around the starter. Another tip that you can do is consider taking your sourdough starter outside and maybe even setting it on the porch or in the grass where there's no animals around, or consider opening up your windows, letting fresh air in. Lots of just living things around your sourdough starter. One of the best things to do is to even have things that are fermenting already, like we have kombucha starter and SCOBY hotels around. Those are wonderful living things that will gather wild yeast and bacteria that will help your sourdough starter. One of the other things you might consider is to keep your sourdough starter in a warm place, free from air conditioning vents, and just have your house open, your windows open. It's a wonderful experience making a sourdough starter. Just be patient. You can do this. So let's get started making sourdough starter. Day 1. In a clean jar, place 6 tablespoons of flour and 1/4 of a cup of water. This needs to be unchlorinated and unsalted. You want to cover loosely with a cloth and leave until tomorrow. Day 2. About 24 hours later, add another 6 tablespoons of flour, another 1/4 of a cup of water, and stir well. Cover loosely until tomorrow. Day 3. On day 3, you should be seeing some bubbly activity in your starter. Stir and then pour off half of the starter. To the remaining starter, add 6 tablespoons of flour and 1/4 of a cup of water. Stir well and cover again loosely with a cloth. Leave until tomorrow. We picked some apples that have some natural yeast on the skins and sat them around the starters today. Day 4. There should be more bubbly activity happening in the starter. Stir and then pour off another half of the starter. Again, add another 6 tablespoons of flour and 1/4 a cup of water. Stir well and cover loosely until tomorrow. Day 5. Add 6 tablespoons of flour and 1/4 a cup of water. Stir well, cover again until tomorrow. Day 6. Today we are feeding twice to speed up the fermentation process and make sure we get plenty of starter. Add 6 tablespoons of flour and 1/4 a cup of water at about 9 a.m. and again about 9 p.m. Stir well and keep the starter covered. Consider wiping the apples with the cloth that is covering the starters, further encouraging wild yeast from the apples to transfer to the starter. Day 7, last feeding. One last time, add the 6 tablespoons of flour and 1/4 cup of water to your starter. Stir well. The starter should be bubbly and smell delicious. If by day 3 you don't see any bubbles, you may need to consider starting over with a new starter. Now your starter is ready to make all kinds of delicious things like our sourdough multigrain sandwich loaf. You can find that recipe on the blog. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, and let us know in the comments what you think about it, what you're doing with sourdough, if you've made a sourdough starter before. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and look in the description box below for helpful links. Thanks so much and enjoy baking. Thank you. Bye-bye.